Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel O'Brien, and I am with Troy Aldermas tonight. Hey, Troy.
Hey, hello everybody.
Hello, everybody. And tonight we are going to have a conversation about people that are different, not wrong.
Yep, and especially with kids.
Especially with kids. So, one of the things that we have seen is, particularly me with one of my kids, is that there is a group of culture, really educational culture, that because kids function different in the way that they take in information, they are diagnosed, and that definition is a limitation instead of something that can be seen as a greatness. And one of the things that we're looking to create, I facilitate a body of work called Access Xmen. And so with Access Xmen, it's looking at the child and not judging where they're functioning from and not making them wrong for their difference. And so it's quite challenging if you're told that there is something wrong with you. That can be quite a limitation. And so we have a lot of teachers and a lot of doctors, amazing people that are changing the wave in the way kids that don't fit in are actually treated. And so, Troy, would you like to talk about, like, we're talking about autism spectrum? There's a massive range. We're talking about OCD, we're talking about ADD. And so, where one of the things that I can talk about is where I'm different, and Troy is going to talk about where he's different. And the way that we would have judged that and made it wrong, which is this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, instead of more going into the question about what skills and abilities have I beyond any judgment that can actually be an advantage to me in my life and the way I live my life instead of a limitation of my daily living.
Yeah, and actually I'm very grateful for Access Consciousness for looking to from that different perspective instead of just going, oh, like this is wrong and how do we change what's wrong? And that was one of the places that showed up in my life, especially like when I was like teenager. I was playing a lot of computer games, and like I have the point of view that, oh, like the problem is me playing computer games, and if I eventually would able to get rid of playing computer games, everything in my life would work. But even for momentarily, like I would like leave the computer or do something else, but then I will just get bored and play computer games again. And like I made this as a big wrongness of myself, and like this is one of the places that I judge myself, and actually I have been judged, like because a lot of people were projecting at me like, oh, like if you're playing computer games, that means will be not successful in life and later on. And like there was a lot of projections of like you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing this, and like how is it for you, like everybody that's listening this now in the future, like when somebody says, oh, like you shouldn't be doing this, like do you just go, oh, okay, like I'm not gonna do this, or are you like, fuck you, watch me, I will do this? And that was like the exact effect like it created for me. And I was like, oh, like I'm gonna play computer games, I'm gonna play computer games. But what was really going on was I was just bored. Like I didn't have enough things that was going on in my life. So that was actually, I was choosing things that was, I'm gonna say like destructive and not generative. And like when I find access consciousness and starting to play with the tools and asking questions, because that's one of the other tools that we share in access, like not going to the conclusion, which is like, oh, playing computer games, it's a problem, that is a conclusion, and this is wrong, that's another conclusion. And like if you keep playing computer games, that means like you'll be unsuccessful in life, that's another conclusion. And there's like so many conclusions. But when I was asking the question, okay, like what is this? Oh, actually, I'm just bored. And like when I starting to add more things into my life, starting to generate way more, like I didn't have to, I'm gonna say like get rid of the problem that I decided that is a problem, but it didn't even, it actually starting to become irrelevant in my life because I was like, actually playing computer game is not, it's not fun for me. Like there's like so much more fun things that I can generate that creates my life and generate like a way greater life and allows me to receive so much more. And like I get like that's like one of the things with the Xmen tools. Like I'm an Xmen facilitator, Rachel is advanced Xmen facilitator, which means she can facilitate the disabilities or abilities classes. And like one of the things that we keep inviting people into is like, what if every place that you think you're wrong, like even if you're listening right now and you're like, no, 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 like you don't know what I mean, or like you don't know this part of my life, if you know it you wouldn't be able to say it. No, I know it and I'm still saying it. Everything that you think is wrong, like what if that is the strongness that you have that nobody acknowledged before? And like for me, like what would it take for like more of people like acknowledge that in themselves and actually acknowledge that and contribute to the kids to have that as annoying instead of going, hey, like this is wrong about you, or like this is bad about you, like this is terrible about you.
I was at the airport in Florida the other day, and I had a kid, and his dad was telling him that, like, this is disgusting, you shouldn't be doing this. And as I was sitting there, I can sense the whole child's universe
Like
collapse.
licking the chairs.
Exactly. And
Like,
so
well, there. I wonder how does this taste like.
well, it's so funny. You're so psychic because he was eating his food and it was dripping down his shirt. And I used to do that as a kid because I would like drip my food. I'd enjoy it so much. And so, so when you deliver a judgment, so I am OCD, ADD, autism, highly functional. And so one of the things is the part that I wasn't ever educated about was that I am massively aware of judgment and I can hear people's heads. And so one of the things that I didn't recognize is I bought that what I was aware of other people's thinking, other people's emotions, other people's judgments was me because I didn't have someone who had the Xmen tools around me growing up. And so I thought that I was everything that I was aware of when I was around people, particularly insanity. And when I talk about insanity, I'm talking about non-working points of views, you know? And so I was severely impacted by judgment because I didn't have anyone who, you know, said, hey, you actually are aware, you know. Yet when I'm in the forest or in the trees, I would have none of these feelings, none of these thoughts, none of these emotions, you know, which is a deep signal that it wasn't me. You know, when I'm in the trees or when I'm swimming in the sea, I have total peace, total grace, and total relaxation. And then I would get around people and I had all this like, and so then I came to an Xmen class with DVDAs, thank you DVDAs, and I heard the information that when you're autistic, you actually download people's mental chatter. Now, if you're around a lot of people that are super judgmental and they're like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. When you're autistic, all you hear is, I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And it really impacts your relationship with yourself. And so one of the things that I was able to be for that kid in the airport is I just immediately connected into him energetically and just was like, hi, hi. And just by that one tool, expanding out your zone of awareness, because when children are judged, their world collapses and their zone collapses, and they go into thinking that they've done something wrong. And so that we talk about that in the Xmen classes, that collapses their zone. Whereas just expanding out and being space and energetically inviting him to that space, he immediately looked over at me. And I've not had this once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. I've had this capacity with kids since I'm a very young child myself, you know?
Yeah. And how many of you out there like have this ability with kids, with animals? Like they just go like, oh, like with plants, like they just like to be around you more. And like when you are around them, they just became more relaxed, more nurtured. And like, what is it in you that is creating that you may not acknowledge yet?
And even when I was an 11-year-old, I think this is just a super cute story. In Ireland, like really uneducated around differences. I went to work in a school that people were autistic, and this is where people had like they couldn't function in this reality with words. You know, their behavior really inhibited them functioning in this reality. And I would go in at 11 years of age, I volunteered to go into the school, and I would go in and I would perfectly communicate with everyone in that school. And I didn't even ever acknowledge that until I came and I did the Xmen classes, that I had this ability, and I had a lot of peace and I had no issues with communicating, which is really strange because we actually could communicate with a look or hear hear what they required. You know, I know when to give them water, or like how many of you you think you want a glass of water and then you have a friend around you who is super psychic and they hand you a glass of water, or you know, we try a lot of our communication is telepathic. I will like even think of something and immediately he'll make that phone call to a client or a new translator. And so this is where these children have amazing capacities and abilities, and instead of defining them and stopping there as a conclusion that they're wrong, what we're really looking to create is, what if they are just different, and what gift can their difference be for you? Because one of the things that I hear from parents is that, and teachers, you know, I have a lot of friends that are teachers that have done these classes, the child will behave very different when they're around someone who has a lot of space and no judgment, and who doesn't actually make them wrong for the difference that they are. And so I'm extremely excited to invite people, enthusiastic, because it's more of like an inner joy to invite people to the Xmen and Kids class that I'm doing 2 nights time, Friday night. And it is about the tools that I used with my son, you know, sending him you know, a video like a movie of what his day would look like, because for him being in school was extremely difficult, you know, as he particularly went into secondary school, which is funny because I had the same thing. And so if you are challenged out there, there is a different way to be in the world. And as an X-Men myself, I require a lot of space, a lot of kindness, and a lot of calmness for my life to work for me. You know, I work much better when I have a lot of space, and I learn much better. First of all, I can't learn things that I don't enjoy or I'm not interested in. It just doesn't evolve. And so we have lots of tools and tips that we have used, and that I have used with my kids, that will allow you to actually work with, collaborate with, see the gift that you could receive from these kids, and what gift can you be for them. You know, if you didn't judge these kids for their difference, then, because when you judge them for being different, you're saying essentially you're wrong for who you are. What if they are just so valuable and such a treasure and such a gift? What can they give to you?
Exactly. Beautiful. So, if you like to join Rachel, Rachel will be facilitating this class on 29th of November, which is Friday, between 6:30 to 8:30 Europe time. And in the link that we will popping into the comments, you can see exactly what time that is for you. And how to sing English.
Yeah, come join us. And everywhere you think you're wrong, you're
Strong.
Beautiful. Different, not less. Mwah. Bye, everyone. We hope this contributed to you.
Bye.
You learned something from this video. Bye-bye.